name is Millicent Mumblethumps. I am the resident doctor professor at the School of Doctors and Professors in Professor Land. I am here to talk to you all today about Evelyn Waugh's vile bodies, of which I myself am an expert. In particular, we will be talking about how in vile bodies, parties initially function as an escape from the radical instability in our whole world order, end quote. But by the end of the party, the bright young people are left feeling increasingly cynical and hopeless about the state of the world. We begin our story in the home of Edward Throbbing at the party of Archie Short, put on through generous funding by Mary Mouse. In attendance are all the hottest bright young people, including present Earl Van Berg, Prime Minister's daughter Jane Brown, Colonel Blunt's daughter Nina, and budding author Adam Symes. This is the first party of our story, and it is shaping up to be the most optimistic and liveliest of the season.
Too thrilling to see all that dull money my father had amassed in this way into so much glitter and noise.
You guys want to come over to my place?
Yeah!
Bloody now! My dears, come in, won't you?
Oh, yes.
Oh.
Why did I not tell them it was my father, the Prime Minister's house? I didn't think any of those divine young people would give a damn. Politics are just too dull these days.
Good morning, all. I found the right room at last. Why, it was all just big fun, you know. I simply adore Cockney accents. They are too darling. I may be a runcible, but I do find all these class divides bogus.
It seems that the bright young people enjoyed a rather smashing party and an even more spectacular after party. This party created hope and it stimulated love within these young folks. However, underlying all the fun is some serious shifting of societal ideals. Agatha's blurring of class lines with her Cockney accent and Jane's disinterest in politics are only the beginning of our exploration into the 1920s shifting cultural, societal, and political ideals. Off we go to Lady Metroland's party with famed evangelist Mrs. Melrose Ape and her choir of angels as the main performers. Poor dear sweet Simon Balcairn, gossip writer for the news, has gotten himself into a spot of trouble with his friends over some particularly nasty gossip he wrote in his column. He was not invited to the party at Lady Metroland's. But will that stop him from going?
If I miss this party, I may as well leave Fleet Street for good. I may as well put my head into a gas oven and have done with it.
Oh, how bored I feel.
Just you look at yourselves.
What a damn impudent woman.
When Lady Circumference scoffs at Mrs. Melrose Ape, it again proves to us that the younger generation is growing tired of Victorian societal conventions, especially those that shame your secular actions and cause guilt to stir in your heart. These bright young people want no part in anything that causes more guilt and more grief in their hearts, as the war has caused too much already. These parties are supposed to be a way to relax and escape, not to be reminded of their sins. All right, back to the party.
Wait a minute. You're Simon. You're not supposed to be here.
Ah!
Scenes of a wild religious enthusiasm, reminiscent of a black people meeting in Southern America.
Simon has just made up an entire story in which all the partygoers repent their sins to Mrs. Melrose Ape, and then he sticks his head into a gas oven. Poor sweet dear Simon. It all just goes to show that having a good societal standing doesn't guarantee your happiness, and that the partying lifestyle isn't sustainable or healthy. Maybe his death reveals to the fact that these young people are only using parties as a band-aid and as a blanket to cover all their problems and hopelessness. This is the first time that a party is being given in an airship, but it doesn't seem to be going well. Agatha keeps bumping into machinery. Let's check in on Nina, Adam, and Ginger and see how they're handling the party lifestyle now that the season is in a full swing.
Oh, Nina, what a lot of parties. Masked parties, savage parties, Victorian parties, Greek parties, Wild West parties, Russian parties, circus parties, parties where one had to dress as somebody else, almost naked parties in St. John's Wood, parties in flats and studios and houses and ships and hotels and nightclubs and windmills and swimming baths, tea parties at school where one ate muffins and meringues and tinned crab, parties at Oxford where one drank brown sherry and smoked Turkish cigarettes, dull dances in London and comic dances in Scotland and disgusting dances in Paris. All that succession and repetition of massed humanity, those vile bodies.
It seems that these vile bodies are all of humanity. Adam, and Evelyn too, I suppose, has a very cynical view of humanity here, calling humans vile because of their tendency to cover up their problems with parties, because of their seeming lack of morals, and because of their overlooking of anything deep or philosophical in life, and let's not forget, because of their fast-paced and superficial lifestyle. These vile bodies, the shifting and permanent young society populates these parties. Adam is just so tired of seeing them, of having to be a part of this massed humanity. These vile bodies.
Oh, how I love parties.
Ginger, who has been off on military business in Ceylon until just recently, is enjoying the partying lifestyle because it covers up the worry and the hopelessness he feels. However, Adam and Nina have been in the party mix throughout the entire novel, and we can see how its charm is wearing off, leaving the two to grapple with their anxiety and hunger. Off we go to the Big Kid Party of the Year at Anchorage House. It is being given by some old people, and we are very, very excited to see how it contrasts with the young people's party.
What could be more exciting?
Are you ready to propose today, Edward?
No. I think he's rather ready.
I don't understand this young generation, and I don't want to. They had a chance after the war that no generation has ever had. There was a whole civilization to be saved and remade, and all they seem to do is play the fool.
Don't you think perhaps it is all in some way historical? Seems to me like they are all possessed with a almost fatal hunger for permanence.
What do you mean historical?
Well, it's like this war that's coming. No one wants to talk about it because no one wants it. They're all afraid to breathe a word about it. We long for peace, but there is a radical instability in our whole world order, and soon we'll all be walking into the jaws of destruction again.
Out outrage and Rothschild in the Anchorage House Party with the age-old progressive versus conservative debate. While outrage argues that the young people had the chance to rebuild civilization after the war and that they've ruined it by flitting irresponsibly from party to party, Rothschild takes a more compassionate view, claiming that the young people only party to find permanence in a shifting society, to fill a deep void within themselves. Outrage's abrupt dismissal of the argument shows that the two parties will not come to a consensus anytime soon, and that perhaps they never will. While this party scene gives us no resolution to the debate, the following scene seems to do so indirectly. Let's take a look.
Mama, Edward proposed to me tonight. I said I wouldn't marry him. I'm sorry.
But my dear, it's nothing to be sorry about. Leave it to your old mother. I'll put it all right for you in the morning.
But Mama, I don't want to. I couldn't. It would kill me.
Now, my pet, you mustn't worry her head about it any more. You know your father and I only want the best for your happiness, dear one. No one is going to make my darling girl do anything she doesn't want to. Papa shall see Edward in the morning and make everything all right. Dear Lady Anchorage was only saying tonight what a lovely bride you'll make. Good night.
Yes, I know this isn't a party scene, but it's incredibly important to understanding the value of parties in vile bodies. In this scene, the conservative generation pushes the younger generation into a decision based on class standing and Victorian ideals. But the younger generation wants no part in it and sees no happiness in the decision. This scene seems to be taking an indirect stance on the question presented in Rothschild's and Outrage's debate. This scene seems to be saying that the bright young people are only trying to use parties as a way to escape from the radical instability in our whole world order, that the bright young people represent a society of shifting ideals and social orders, and that the bright young people's quest for happiness necessarily looks different than that of their ancestors. In vile bodies, parties initially function as an escape from the radical instability in our whole world order. But by the end of the party, the bright young people are left feeling increasingly cynical and hopeless about the state of the world. The beginning of each of these parties is filled with less and less enthusiasm as the novel goes on, and the endings of each party show us that this enthusiasm gets replaced by fatigue and cynicism. Throughout the novels, every character is faced with the reality that this is an interwar decade, that the upheaval and world conflict is not yet over, and that no matter how hard you may try to forget, these feelings of hopelessness and worry will always come back to haunt you. On the brighter side, this novel also represents the shifting ideals of a young society, the progress of a generation. Throughout the novel, and especially during parties, we as readers see young people straying from stiff Victorian conventions, treating marriage more freely, blurring class lines and typical social orders. While is also being partly cynical about these changes, he is more importantly exemplifying and upholding the tenacity of the bright young people, showing his readers that, like it or not, this is what the new generation is made of.